Okay. Okay. So today's session it would be the usual things you people might be already using, but we'll try to go in bit deep and try to see what are the issues, limitations, and complications with using and what is required for using Jenkins tools, various Jenkins tools. Okay. So I'm now presenting the Jenkins page. Okay, so it's visible, right?
Yes, yes, it's
Oh,
visible.
okay. So as we see, we use Jenkins for various tasks, uh, including cloning, backup, and various things. And we are keep on adding various jobs into this Jenkins. So whatever the repetitive tasks, repetitive errors could be handled using Jenkins. Okay, so the certain jobs might be applicable only for classic, and certain jobs might be applicable only for SP, and certain might be applicable for both. Okay, so there are various jobs. So I'm sure that everyone might be having the Jenkins link URL. It's whatever I highlighted. This is the URL, and generally QA and dev have access to the jobs under this tab. There are various jobs like add partition, BA master verification, for verifying why the changes are not reached to changes were done in BA master but not reached to QA, verifying all those, creating BA master, backing up one schema and taking backup if required to your machine. Then this is for classic, they can copy QA tables, create vanilla job, create app user. Again, similarly, schema clone, and there are various jobs are there. So these are the basic few of the jobs, Jenkins jobs we frequently use in our day-to-day working. So what are those, and how to use, or what should be done? We will see the information related to it. Okay. So as I mentioned, we will see how to use clone tool. We will see how to use restore schema from backup. We will see what are the common errors during the cloning, and whether how we can proceed or fix those errors on our own. We will see create BM master. We will see how to back up a specific schema. We will see what is vanilla and how to create a vanilla. We will see new schema request, and we'll say ID management tool also. These are the things we would be covering today. So first of all, new schema request. So for example, for QA, you want new schema to be created so that you can create on your own. You don't need to come to DBA to create. Okay. Or for the dev also, they can create the schemas on their own with using Jenkins job. So this is the link where you can with which you can create the new schema. This is the job name, new schema request. Using this you can create. Okay, so but there are certain restrictions for creating schemas, right? Because we can't give 100% authority for the people to use it as they required, because basically else people would keep on creating as much as schemas they want, and we have space restrictions in our servers, so we can't allow people to create as much as schemas they want. So for that we have certain limitations. Dev can create 3 schemas in their name. Okay, this is limitation is specifically for person dependent. Like I can create, if I'm a developer, I can create 3 schemas in my name. Okay. Further, if you want further any more schemas, you can ask your colleagues to create for you, or if you want further more schemas to be created, then the tool won't allow you to create. It will say that you have reached either it will ask, it will give you the list. Then then you come to us, then we might ask you to drop certain unwanted schemas. But if dropping is not feasible, so in certain situation we might give additional schemas to be created. Okay, for dev limitation is 3, so it is not project dependent or not schema name dependent. It is developer or QA name dependent. Okay, for developer 3, for QA 15 schema. QA can for certain one person can create 15 schema. Further, QA want more than 15 schema, you can ask your colleagues to create schemas for you. Okay, so that's how you can move ahead with this restriction. But that is not feasible. You can come to us. We will create the schemas for you if that is a valid request, or we might ask to drop certain unwanted schema in that case. Okay, so one more point here we need to remember is, uh, if any schema is not used for a while, like for 2 months, no action or no login is happened, we lock such schemas, and we keep locked those schemas for further 1 month or 2 months, and then we ask that particular person that your schemas are not touched for last 3 months or 4 months. So we believe you do not want this. So let us know if this could be dropped. So if person agrees, then we drop those schemas. Okay. Apart from that, we have certain restrictions, other restriction on QA environment and dev environment also. In QA environment, any system table cannot be system table data cannot be changed at all. Okay, this is basically because various other time developers or QA or someone else keep on changing the data, and we send that data to bank, and in the bank the issue is still reproduced because it did not went through the release, and it was a direct fix on the schema. So to avoid such kind of issues, we have restricted system data change on any QA schema. So if any schema created with QA as a name in it, QA as a character in it, so it by default creates the restricted system table restricted schemas. But for the dev, there is no restriction. They can do whatever the changes they want. Okay, so this is basically for creating blank schemas. Before you progress with the backup restore or creating clone or whatever, you need to have one schema. If you have earlier old schema created, then that should be okay. But if that is not there, then you need to create it first and then progress. Okay, so this is all about the new schema request. The inputs that you need to give, you people might already know these things, like whether the schema is required for product or project, where what location you require, Tel Aviv, US, Azure, Pune, whatever. What for the what team it required, for dev or for QA or for NFT. If you use QA, then there would be restrictions would be applied for the system table changes. Okay, then the customer name, which customer or which project you want, the database name, the version, whether it's a SP or it's a classic or whatever the version. Then you need to select the stream also, freeze, pre, prod, scale, whatever. Then you need to select your username, and then with that it will give you the schema name, specific schema name it might generate. Okay, with the build you can create the new schema. So this is the basic mechanism for creating new schemas. Okay, so once you create the schema, then you can use the clone tool, or that same schema you can use it in the clone tool if it's a new environment in it. Okay, so this is the Jenkins link, which already we saw it earlier. For the Jenkins, the username is Finastra domain username, and password is always what we use for our Outlook. Okay, the mail password. Basically, the Finastra domain password in the Pune, it's a different, and Outlook password is different. So always we have to use the Outlook password. Okay, so we already saw various jobs in Jenkins, which we already in use in we are already using, or there are other jobs, new jobs we are coming up with also. Okay, so this is the schema clone job, which we need to use. This is the job which we use for the schema clone. So this is with the build with the parameter, we can start with the new job. So what are the inputs we need to fill here? Like uh, uh, their source location, source database, source schema. These are the input. Source location, source database, and source schema. These are the various information we need to input as we saw in earlier job. Then the next thing is that whether you want to take a new schema export whatever the existing data you want, or you can restore the earlier old backup also. If their backup are visible available, then it will list various backups. If you see here, this is the backup of one of the already existing backup which is stored in the server. So if this backup will give you the version of that backup, what is the version of that backup, and when that backup was taken. So if you feel that is okay, that version which I wanted, I do not want the latest export to be taken, then you can select that specific backup and you can progress with that. Uh, Basically, if you select the backup, then export won't happen, and you might save a little bit of time, maybe 15-20 minutes of time with that. Then you need to select target location, target database, customer, target schema. Okay, these are the normal thing which generally we do based on your project and the project and the customer, whatever you want to develop. Okay, so once based on that, you can your whatever the schema you created with the earlier step, it would be visible here. So if that step was appropriate, then definitely it will be visible here. Okay. Then again you need to validate whatever the schema you have created. Basically, you need to type it here. So this is just to make sure you are not reusing some other schema or some wrong schema. Okay. Basically, sometime what happens in the rush, we tend to use some different schema or different choice in drop down, and with that it might hamper other schema. Basically, the clone, what it does, it drops whatever the target schema, first it drops, then it recreates back the that schema with new uh, fresh data. Okay, if you choose wrong schema, then that schema would be dropped. So to avoid that, we have put validate schema step here. Then if you want to take all the payments also, copy all the payments also, you can use with the payment tab here. So this is specific to clone. So once you build it, you will see on the left side whatever your schemas is, the clone is being progressed. So you can, with the console output, you can try to see what exactly it's doing. So what it does, the clone, what it does, it first drops the whatever target schema you created, it creates a blank schema, then it start export from the source schema, then it with that whatever the dump it created, it imports into the target schema, then it creates application user, then it gives then it creates a synonym in application user, then it gives all the grants from active owner user to application user. So we are right, earlier we saw that application user and owner user, there are two users, application user and owner user. Owner user contains all the objects, application user only contains certain synonyms, and all the permission, insert, update, delete permissions are given from owner user to application user, and GPP application code connects to application user. Okay, so any questions up to now? Okay, so this is specific to clone. On various account, people or QA or maybe dev need to restore back the schema or user from backup. So in that case, they can use there are two options. One option we already saw just some time back. Okay, so uh, which is the clone tool. In the clone tool, as we saw, there various exported dumps are visible. Okay, so you can select that whatever the dump you want. With that dump you can progress. All the operations are similar to clone, like from the source to, once you select the source, okay, in this case BOI QA SP FRZ2 is the source. So whatever the available dumps for that source would be available here, and based on your date or based on the version you can select that. Once you select that export dump, if you take export new dump, then existing schema would be exported and imported, but we don't want that to do, right? We want to restore from the backup. So we click on the restore old dump, select that, then select the target options, and then build. Okay, so with this, whatever dump we selected, that dump would be imported into our target schema. So this is one way of restoring the dump. Another one is import schema from the dump. There is another job for that. Okay, so this is the job: restore schema restore from backup. With build, clicking on the build, you can progress with restoring with the backup. So it is also simple one. Here you can search the available dumps based on schema name, or you can search based on the label. So what do you mean by label? Like if we see the version, specific version, in this case 4.6.12.28 kasib.11 b18, if we want this label, whether any label present for that dump, so we can select the instead of schema name we can select that label. Then which locations, Tel Aviv, database name kasib. Okay, then source schema name, whatever source schema name or label. If we select label, uh, if we select that, then the label would all the labels would be available here. We have to input the details specific to that label. If we select schema name, then by default whatever the available schemas users for that the database would be visible here. So once we input all these details, so available dump, export dump for that project or for that schema or for that label would be available visible here. Then based on your label requirement, for example, if I want B03 11 dot for that if I want this to be selected for the input, so I can click on that dump file, then progress with the target location, and I can restore that. Okay, so these are the various dumps available with which we can select and progress. Okay, so by default we try to maintain 4 to 5 dumps of any schema. Okay, so how do we take up backup? Every night we have jobs for taking backup. So if any schema, for example, for kasib we have some ABC schema for kasib. Okay, so backup job checks whether is there any version change for that specific schema, ABC schema. If there is a version change, then it takes the backup. If there is no version change, it was same as yesterday, then it do not take backup. So like this, we maintain at least 4 to 5 backups of any schema. Okay, so it might be schema. So the backup might be of last 5 days. It might be each and every day your version is changing. You are doing upgrade each and every day for last 5 days. So in that case, you might be having 5 different backups with for your specific that schema. Okay, so this is for restoring your schemas with the old backup. Various time we keep on required to restore. So for that, this is the job.
Sachin, a small question.
Yeah.
Uh, it's automatically do every night a backup for the QA environment.
Yes, that's correct for the QA environment.
Okay, and when I want to do go all back to one day, let's say one day previous, the code is not changed. It's only database.
If code is not changed, the version is not changed. Okay, if version is changed for any specific schema, okay, for that night definitely it would be backed up. So you will get that backup in servers.
Because what I say, there is a possible where we add the code with structure changes, and then when we're doing a backup, the code is with the new column, and the database is without the column.
Okay.
So it's only take rollback on the database, not on the code.
Okay, so you what you are suggesting? You might have been dropped a column, maybe, right? It was
No, let's say today someone take a build, okay, and it's adding it was adding a new column in the structure table. The structure also is added to the code. Now, in the night we have a backup. Okay, and now let's say day after we have a problem and we want to go 2 days to the previous 2 days. So when we are going to do the backup, we're going to take the database from the backup. It will be without the column, while in the code the column is staying over there.
Okay. So basically, yeah. Basically, if there is no change happen to version table, then we won't be having any backup for that specific version. Okay. Or might be that night backup might not happen, but we might be having 3, 4, 5, or 6 days back. Whenever the change was happened, we might be having that backup. We can use that backup in that case.
Okay.
Okay. So anyway, means the current version and last version, there would be one backup. Definitely one backup would be available. The backup date might be today to 2 days back, or maybe week back also. So it depends when version table change happens.
Okay, I understand.
Okay. So apart from that, there are options to take backup also. So we will see how we can take a backup also. That there further we'll discuss in
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so we also frequently run into errors, okay, cloning errors. So what are the cloning errors? General errors which maybe DBA champions or any other users could be able to fix it on their own or try to understand what are the errors. But apart from that, if anything else is there, then maybe DBA need to fix it. Okay, so there are various errors. So if in certain examples, user does not exist in dropdown. Various time we keep on getting people try to ping us that I do not see my user in dropdown. Okay, so they might created it a while back, that they did not use it for a while, and now they are getting the error. There might be various reasons for that. First of all, and most time the reason is that user does not exist at all in the database. Okay. Due to some reason user was dropped. Okay. There might be certain reasons, maybe with consultation with the developer, DBA might drop the schema, or the clone is aborted. It is very rare chance, but in the phase between where it drops schema and creates schema, it's a very short time, maybe with 30 seconds or maybe 1 minute, but within that period the clone aborts due to some reason. Then there is a possibility that schema might be in dropped state. So these are the specific reason, or developer do not know, or they do not remember the old schema name and they think that it was present there. So these are the various reasons. They think that they do not see the schema in the drop down. Okay, so if you do not see the schema in drop down, you can verify on your own also. Or again, we are coming up, we already, we will come up with Jenkins job to verify whether your schema exists or not. That we already started building it. Or rather, you can also verify on your own. You can just try to connect to that specific username using SQL plus PLSQL developer, whatever, with proper username and proper command, proper password. If it gives invalid username and password, then possibly that user is dropped. Okay, so this is the one reason many times user get. Another one is export of target or source schema is already running by other job. Okay, so basically, suppose you are taking you are exporting Kasib SCADE 01 schema. Okay, you want to export Kasib SCADE 01 schema, but already there are various other peoples are using or doing the export for the same schema. Clone tool do not allow export of same schema by multiple users. Okay, basically it start with the same job name, like Kasib SCADE 01. This is the job name. It start with that job name, and again, if you want to export with the same name, then it restricts, or rather it's a restriction on the Oracle. So if you get this error, then basically you need to wait until that job is finished. So this is for exports, or source schema or target schema is already running by another job. You can find out such errors in the clone job, and you can accordingly wait for that to complete. Okay, this is the next one is cannot drop user that is currently connected. Okay, so this is also very frequent issue we face, or we asked to fix. Basically, what it suggests is that the GPP application or users are connected to through the SQL developer, PLSQL developer, Toad, or some other tools, and they might be triggered some DML or something like that. So as I mentioned, clone tool drops the schema and recreates it. Okay, so but when it goes to drop, that GPP application might already connected to the schema, and it's not allowing Oracle to drop it. So that's when this error we get. So what is required here is that always shut down the GPP application before you start to clone, and disconnect all your sessions whichever connected from the PLSQL developer and SQL developer. So these are the basic requirement before the clone. If you do this, then you won't see mostly such errors. We already handled these errors in the clone tool, but still sometime GPP application or as GPP application keep starting new sessions, right? So it won't allow in certain situation. The next error is on various account. You also see that while import, it says unable to extend error. So what this means is that there is a space issue on the server database, and the Oracle import is not able to progress or create the object or do the data import. So in that case, you need to ask us, so we will fix this error, or we will add the space, then we proceed with that. And on various account, also people see that Jenkins job, it's for a long time, maybe 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, it keep on showing that it is still processing. It keep on showing the processing image frequently. So what it means is that the clone might have completed on the background, but a Jenkins job might have lost contact due to network issues or some other issues, and it is not able to catch up with the backend shell scripts, and that's why it keep on showing that keep on rotating or progressing bar. Okay, so in that case, you can contact us. We will suggest that whether the job is completed or not. Okay, so any questions up to now? Okay. Okay, so let us see BA master. So we all are aware what are the BA master. BA master is similar to QA. QA, it's a similar QA anomaly. Only difference is that For rule tables, whatever changes done on this schema are pointed to the project master of that project stream, and whatever the changes done are captured in the master. Okay, so this is the only difference between QA and BA master, or rather, both are the same apart from that. So BA master clone, this is the tab where you see with the build you can progress with cloning the BA master. Okay, so generally what is required to clone is that basically you need to have some QA schema which you can refer for the cloning, which you can use it as a source and target by default. If any BA master schema is available, by default the system will give you the name. Okay, so here we have to provide inputs, whatever the default inputs we as usually we are using. The source location. Source location means what is the QA schema. Generally we use QA schema, but in some other it might be some other schema in certain time also, but generally it's a QA schema. Then source location, source database, source schema. So these are the three inputs you have to give. Then you can, if you want to restore available backup, you can select from here. If you do not select from here, then by default it will export and then import. Okay. Then you have to select the client, for which client you want to create the BA master. You have to select the stream of it. It might be pre, freeze, scaled, whatever it might be. Then you have to select the master name, for which master you don't need to select. Basically it will come automatically once you select the client and stream. Always remember BA master points to project master only for any project. Okay, it never project to PRD master. It always point to PRJ master. So you will always see PRJ master here. Once you select all these three names, by default whatever the BA master would be created, that name would be visible here. With the build you will progress creating the BA master. First it will drop the whatever existing BA master, or if BA master does not exist, it creates. Then based on the export, if it's a backup is selected, then that dump would be imported, or backup is not selected, then source schema would be exported, then the same dump would be used for import. So this is how this job is used for creating the BA master. Any questions? Okay. Okay, so on various account we need to backup schemas. Okay, Dev might want to take a backup for restoring in the laptop or some other things, or QA want to take a backup and keep that backup copy on their machine. Basically if it's kept on the server, as we mentioned, we keep 5 backups most of the time. So if old backup, we might remove it. So if you required, you can back up that schema and you can take that backup on your machine, or on some shared location also. You can store it there. So that for that this we use this job. Okay. So this is the location. Okay, this is the shared location, and this same shared location you will see on that whatever job you run. Once you finish that job is finished, you will see this message, this location wherever the backup is stored. This location will be visible in that job. Okay, at the end. So this is a shared location with, you can put it in Windows run prompt. You will get the folder and you can see your dump over there, and you can copy from there. So this is the shared location. So backup job, here just you have to provide the source database name in which your schema resides, and you have to select the schema. And if you want your backup to be copied to this folder, shared folder, okay, so you have to click here. Or if you don't want to copy that file into or if you want to keep it as it in server, the basic normal where all the old backups are stored, then you need not to click on here. So based on that, you can build and progress with the export. Once this job runs, if you clicked here, it copies that folder, that dump here, and from your machine itself connecting to this dump, this location, you can collect your dump. Okay, so this is for taking backup of any schema. Okay, any questions? Okay, so we are aware, right, what is vanilla? Any idea what is vanilla? Okay, vanilla dump, specifically we send, whenever we send the release to bank, okay, so we send a dump. We do not send a script because we need to have some basic things like table structure, basic setup, all those things. So we do not maintain all the lifelong GPP scripts, right? Else we have to send since start to end. Whenever the GPP started, those all script we might need to send to the banks. We don't want to that. Those might be tens of thousands of scripts. So that would be a very pathetic way of delivery, right? So we don't do that. First delivery, whatever, for example, new bank comes and they want 4.6, maybe 14. So we take some product schema or from project schema 4.6.14, QA does a certain sanity. And then everything is okay, basic required things are working in that dump, we send that dump to bank. Okay, so this is, and whatever the first dump we send, that export dump basic with the basic structure is called vanilla dump. Okay, so but by default we cannot pick any schema which is working well and we cannot send it to the bank. Why? Because there are certain things we need to verify. We do not want bank us to send all the transaction data whatever we did internally. So we clean all that transaction data. Okay. In internal environment also we might create tables in different table spaces. Table spaces are Oracle thing to store logical things where the tables are created. Okay, internally we might create in different table spaces, but for client we always create tables in specific table spaces. All the tables should go to table space with the name p data. Okay, large objects should go to p underscore lobs. All the indexes should be created in p underscore indexes. So we verify all these things are properly there or not. So we are just understanding what exactly we do in vanilla, right? We do the cleanup transaction data, then we align all the tables into specific table spaces. Then we drop unwanted tables. There might be backup tables with the back name, or certain time people might create temporary tables with a temp name or something else. So we check those things, we drop unwanted tables, and with this we say that vanilla dump is ready. Okay, so for doing all this we have job. So QA can, whenever the vanilla dump is needed, QA use that vanilla dump job. So it's very simple. You need to go to vanilla job. You have to specify source location, source database in which your environment schema resides. You have to select the schema name, and on top of that you have to provide auxiliary schema name. Auxiliary schema name means the schema name which you want to send to the bank. Okay, for here we are sending, for example, we are sending the this dump to Swed, then it is for 4611, so we named it as Swed underscore 4611 vanilla. Okay, so with this it will create a dump, and again it will upload the dump to FTP location. Okay, in the job it will specify where it has uploaded. It will provide you the location of the FTP where it is uploaded, and from that upload location you can copy the dump and you can input into this project specific FTP location. So the Swed dump here, so it might go to the it copied into the DBA FTP location. From there you need to copy it and put it into the Swed FTP location. Okay, so this is for the vanilla. So this is the first time generally we send, not necessarily first time. on various account. In between also project management decide that they want to send the vanilla, like that they keep on sending in between also. So QA can directly use this and they can send make arrangement for sending the vanilla dump. Okay. For developers who are already aware, right, ID management tool, there are for certain tables, certain ID needs to be generated, right? Like for logical fields, sequence number, I believe, is which needs to be generated. For error codes are also, we need to generate unique error codes. So why do we use ID management tool or ID generation tool? Because we want to maintain unique IDs across each and every project, right? So earlier what used to happen, there were no control with ID. So any IDs people used to use, and when suppose in future when the merging of code is required, so it had used to become very complicated. So that's how the ID management tool come into picture. So any single ID generated, it would be unique across any project. In future, any merging or whatever activities or any other complication would be eliminated with this. And I believe as those IDs are being used in the code, which makes very complications, the merging and all those things. So for that, IDs are generated. There are two ways we can generate the ID. So you people already might be aware. One is using master UI, and apart from that, there is Jenkins job ID management tool, which also you can use to generate unique ID. There are various tables. I'm not listing all the tables. Whichever you can, ID needs to be generated, or you can find those tables in ID management tool also. Okay. Okay. So generating ID using master UI. Okay. Once you log into master UI, so this is specifically for the developers. It's not for the QA. Basically, whenever they need to generate the ID, for, for that they can use this master UI or ID generation tool. So you need to, if you want to use master UI, you need to log into the master UI. You need to go
just for, excuse me, just for the developers. Yes.
Yes. This is basically, yeah, it is basically for developers, ID management.
Okay.
Okay. Why? Because whenever they do the check-ins, okay, so while doing check-ins, they need to use certain range codes, ID codes. Okay, for logical fields, they need to use a sequence, or for error codes, maybe their error code IDs they might need to use for the insert. So they first do the insert with that ID, and the same ID they use in the code. Okay. For before doing that, they need to, before check-in, they need to generate the ID. If they do not generate new ID and they want to insert whatever they fail to insert, then while checking they will get the errors that saying that parent product in the parent product master the ID is not present. Okay, if it's a new one, if it's an old one, then by default it might allow in certain cases, but they are using new ID, then it will, while checking, it will give the error. So it says something like that product ID are not generated. Okay, so for that, before that, they need to generate the IDs. So coming back to the master UI, log into the master UI, click on the system data, choose whatever field table you want to generate ID. In this case, we are generating the access level, and just fetch some data and click edit, and then just or you can use a new record here. Okay, if you want to insert new data, select new record, then just select the range code, give the description of it, then generate. With this, it will the new ID would be generated, and that same ID needs to be used for the further check-in. that you can do it from this master UI or using the SQL prompt, SQL tab here in the master UI itself.
Sachin,
Yeah.
if I am in the middle of a development, and I need to create a new code. Okay, when I click generate, it give me the number, but I don't want to insert the row now. First of all, I want to take it all to my environment and test it to see if it's working. So if I click on generate and not do a save or submit, it will keep me the number that I got.
Yeah, it will keep. See, basically you use the range.
So no one else can take my number. This is what I mean.
Yes, no one would take your number. So
okay.
Suppose you another developer generates the same table he will get next range code.
Okay, so I can generate to get the number, and only a few days after, when I will do the insert, I will take the one that already was generated for me.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, basically, if you see, there is one more master is used for maintaining the IDs, in which we have one or two tables. For each tables, this is the ID and this is the description. For example, here in access level, it would be having all the IDs, okay, and all the description for it. Whenever you generate, it basically go for the maximum range, then it generates the maximum range ID for you. If next person generates, he will get next ID. Okay? Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So the next option, this was the master UI. Then next option is ID management tool. This is the same in Jenkins. You can find it in the yellow highlighted portion. With this, you can, once you click ID management tool, you will see various tables, whatever the tables are available for ID generation, like access level, cache config, cache object, field alias. So these are the various different tables. By clicking on the right side, you will progress to that specific table. With build, you will get all these details. Then you have to fill the range code for which you are generating. For the field which you are generating, it's fields range here. Then table name, field alias, then field name, valid, bene act, and then description. All the details you need to fill accordingly, whatever based on your requirement, and build it. Once you build it, on the console output you will get whatever the new ID you have been generated, or if that ID for that specific whatever the details already exist, it will also suggest you that this ID already exists, you need to use this ID. If it does not exist already, then it will give you the new ID. Okay, so this is the ID management tool, basically used for generating the IDs which used by the developers. Okay, I believe we are coming to the end of the session. So any questions up to now? Okay, I think we are good. If you have any questions, you can get in touch with me, or you can drop me email. And I believe most of you people were yesterday there, but if someone missed, then I will try. I will repeat the things. DB Champion developers would be getting free and SQL access. Okay, so let me show you what exactly it would be. So DB Champion people would be getting the access to, all of us are, all developers are aware, right? What are the free and SQL access? Okay, so free and SQL access is access with which any changes specific to non-system tables, okay, which could be checked in through the free and SQL. So all the DBA champions would be getting access to it. So let me just show you what exactly it would be. Let me comment. And apart from this master UI, we are giving DBA, we have created one more user which is with the name dbchamp. I would share the details shortly. It is a name with the dbchamp and password is dbchamp123. With you can connect to this user and you can modify UPGD table where all the check-ins are done. In build, if something fails, then on certain account we might need to change UPGD table. For that, this user could be used. Not only for UPGD, apart from that, if this user could be also used for doing the check-ins directly to the master. Just keep these users with you and be careful not to run something which might hamper the data in the masters. So basically, which would help you to figure out or do the changes for the UPGD table directly if you want. Okay, so that is dbchamp user. Apart from that, free and SQL. Okay, I will just connect to some master. Okay, so this is the master. So as we are aware, we have system data tab where for these tables, the Finastra is responsible for sending all the details to the bank. And apart from that, on various account transaction tables or the tables which are filled through the GUI, bank asks us or internally management decide to send the detail changes for those tables. As those tables are not system tables, we cannot the check-in can't be captured for those tables. So in that case, we use free and tables, free and SQL. Apart from that, business rules, we cannot capture the business rules because business rules are supposed to be done through the GUI only. So if business rules are required to be checked in also, the free and SQL would be need to be used. Okay, so shortly we would start giving the access to free and SQL to all the DBA champions. If table is available here, you can select the table and do the check-in for that. The only condition here is whenever you are doing the check-in for insert, it needs to be delete insert because our code is rerunnable code and we need to make sure that it do not break in the build or other things. For update and delete, there is no issue. If table does not exist, you can select the first table and do the check-ins. Even that would check-in for that get done. Okay, if the table exists, select that table and do the check-ins. Table does not exist, select first table or other tables and do the check-ins. Okay, so once check-in is done, these changes are not directly visible in UPGD table. These would be visible in some other user table. One build is taken, those changes come to the UPGD table. So you need to wait until the build has been taken. Okay, so this is the free and SQL. So once we give you the permission, this is basically for developer because the QA do not have access to this tool because they never need to do the check-ins. So once you give access, you can start using this tab also. Okay, any questions? Okay, I think we are good. So thank you for all your time.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Bye.